Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology turned podcast. Everyone, welcome into the program. I hope that you're doing well and you are ready for today's program, because today, you may have guessed it, it's Friday. What could it be? No one knows, except Ralph Bond. He is our science and tech trends correspondent, and he, of course, joins us to talk about some amazing stories, ones that we have not covered here on the show, ones that you probably have not heard about unless you frequent all the publications. Ralph is kind enough to show you the source of the sauce, if you will. And yeah, we of course try to highlight these publications that are doing the amazing footwork of finding these research papers, dumbing it down for an audience that Ralph then even filters even more for your listening pleasure. And yeah, all these stories are hopefully going to bring you some sense that technology is not just going to take your job and your house and your love and your happiness, but no, it may actually improve something. And that's what we try to do here today. So with that being said, computeramerica.com, speaking of bringing you nothing but happiness, go there. You can find links to social media, past shows, future shows. You can find the video archives, and really the show notes are a huge part of it, because the show notes will let you find source articles, videos that we talk about, things that you can't really, if you're just listening to us, you can't really see. Come on out to the website and you can see it for yourself when you do have time. But of course, we always thank our listeners and thank our podcast listeners, especially for tuning in every week. So there you go. So with that being said, let's go ahead, bring on Ralph, and he is our science and tech trends correspondent, and he of course really runs the gamut of really interesting stories. So Ralph, welcome back onto Computer America. How have you been?
Thanks to amazing breakthroughs happening every single day in the world of science and technology.
Ralph, I'm going to do something that I am not really proud of. I'm going to have you redo your intro, because
Sure.
I had you muted there for the past 45 seconds. So please redo the intro for those who could not hear, which would be everyone.
Sure. So here we go. So first off, folks, let's explain what Ben and I do every Friday, obviously, if you're new to the show, you need to know this. We look at 4 articles that show us key trends and developments in all things science and technology, including almost every story these days has artificial intelligence, but we also look at robotics, medical technology, sustainable energy technology, transportation advances, agricultural tech, construction technology, space research, physics, you name it. But most important of all, and this is key, we're going to give you hope for a better future thanks to amazing breakthroughs happening every single day in the world of science and technology.
So the only saving grace with all of that was, if you are watching the video portion, which I know, beautiful faces, you cannot resist, we have transcription happening, so closed captioning there at the bottom, and the closed captioning did pick up everything, so you can, of course, read all of, scroll that back down, there you go, so you can read everything that we're saying, of course, when you couldn't hear Ralph talking. But yeah, just for those who, which Ralph, I don't mention this often enough, I have become so impressed with the transcription service that is just baked into our software. Ralph throws out a lot of medical terminology. He throws out a lot of very technical terms. And honestly, the software is so good at picking up exactly what is said. It's really impressive. So if you are a little hard of hearing or you can't really understand us because, I'm not the best speaker. I won't admit that I am, but you can, of course, see the closed captioning as well. Now, with all that being said, Ralph, and thank you again for reintroducing yourself in the segment.
No worries.
Let's go ahead and jump into story number 1. And yeah, this one is, speaking of accessibility features, I think story number 1 is going to help, a lot of people out there who maybe just don't really know sign language.
Yeah, exactly right. So this comes from digitaltrends.com. Our first story here, headline, "This see-through smart ring translates sign language and almost works like magic." And actually, it should have been "these," plural, "see-through rings," plural, translate sign language and so forth. We'll explain. Come out to the show notes. You'll see images, links, and so forth. Very helpful. A South Korean research team has developed a breakthrough wearable system that translates sign language into text in real time using 7 smart rings. So again, come out to the website, computeramerica.com, get the show notes so you can see the illustrations and immediately see what we're talking about. That's very helpful. You'll also notice in the show notes where you see blue text, that's where I have inserted information. And in this case, I show the 3 institutions in Korea, South Korea, that are doing this work. And you can check that out. The most notable one, by the way, is the Korea Institute of Science and Technology. These guys and gals are amazing. Mm-hmm. But going on with the story, published in the journal Science Advances, this technology aims to bridge the communication gap between the deaf and hearing communities without the need for bulky equipment or human interpreters. Unlike previous prototypes that relied on cumbersome, sensor-filled gloves or cameras requiring a clear line of sight, this system, known as wirelessly connected ring-type sign language translator, is discrete and wireless. Well, time out. I inserted into the show notes, Ben, you may recall, April 4 of 2025, we reported on a simple thumb ring technology that translates sign language into text. And I have the link to that story from Popular Science. So it's not to discredit what the South Koreans have done here, but this article kind of makes you think nobody has done something equally impressive. Mm-hmm. And in the case of the story from last year, it was a single thumb ring that was intelligent enough to translate the sign language. So not discrediting this story at all, but just wanted to insert that to share.
It's always good to point out that, in typical trend fashion, no one institute, and, I'm sure that they have picked up the research from one institution and picked up themselves and, maybe, hey, just try to improve the fidelity or something. It all builds.
It does. Exactly. So each ring, going back to this story now from South Korea, each ring contains a tiny accelerometer and a Bluetooth chip to track precise finger movements and orientations. This modular design allows users to move their hands naturally, making it much more practical for daily use in places like hospitals, shops, or workplaces. And key highlights of the technology include accuracy. During testing, the system achieved over 88% accuracy in recognizing 100 common words in both American Sign Language and International Sign Language. Real-time sentences. The AI, there you go, artificial intelligence, uses a sequential detection framework and a auto-complete feature to predict the next sign. That's interesting, allowing it to translate full sentences at speeds comparable to spoken conversation. So it anticipates, based on the pattern of the words being used, it anticipates what the next word could be to help speed the whole process. That's pretty cool. User independence. It works reliably even for people the AI hasn't seen before, meaning it doesn't require personal calibration. Wow, let that sink in.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like like what AI and predictive text is really good at, and then of course mixing that with accessibility. Ralph, even though you included this article from April 4th, 2025, that was over a year ago at this point. AI, like if nothing else, AI's improvements, before you get to what these researchers are doing,
Yeah.
it itself is probably advancing the same technology, just as much. It's improvements every year.
Yeah, yeah, it's just remarkable. And to wrap this story, and this is a key point. This is something that I want to stress. Ben and I often share articles that are early research. So this summary here is very good. While still experimental, researchers believe these rings represent a major step toward barrier-free communication. Beyond translation, the technology could eventually be used for virtual reality control or medical rehabilitation. Interesting.
Yeah, and I could totally see that, just 100 common words in ASL and ISL, even just something like that you could communicate with someone, sit down at a restaurant, water, turkey sandwich, something like that, and you could just sign that and just, have a more casual, normal experience. I'm sure even just that level of accessibility just means, everything to people. So very, very cool. You'll love to see it. And, honestly, the, Ralph, I'm not quite sure why, like you said, they go from 1 ring to 7 rings. I'm hoping it's, fidelity or, maybe just something that's just trying to shrink the technology because, the original thumb ring was pretty bulky and cumbersome.
Right. Right.
But yeah, hopefully there's some advantages and more accessibility for everyone. It's great to see. So story number 1, story number 2, let's go ahead and jump on down. And this time we're going to be talking about, I think just the other day I was looking at, Ralph, correct me if I'm wrong. Actually, it was probably about a week ago at this point. Someone shot off a flare because they crashed a boat into, onto the shore, and they were, kind of looking for help. And then the flare, kind of lit up a whole island like a tinderbox, and kind of catching these fires. Ralph, it's so heartbreaking to see, people who have homes in the area and firefighters, and they just have to kind of stand back and go, kind of 0% contained, but the winds are so high and it's so risky. We can't even begin to tackle this thing. And, when they get a certain size, it's just horrible to, just kind of watch fire do its thing. So with that being said, story number 2, what if maybe you could keep an eye on it at all times? And that could be where we're at.
Yeah. And this is another wonderful example of a positive use for artificial intelligence. Let's explain. This story comes from wildlandfirefighter.com. Now, there's a very specific topic,
I was
right?
about to say, that is a first time for this publication. Very cool.
Yes, I love it. So the headline here is states across the wildfire-prone western United States are using AI for early detection. So this is not a story about a specific technology or a specific installation, but a kind of generalized, be aware that this is happening and this is a trend and it has monumental benefits potentially. So let's get into this. Faced with worsening wildfire threats due to extreme heat and dry conditions, states across the western United States, particularly Arizona, Colorado, and California, are adopting AI-powered camera networks. Wow, the goal is to spot fires in remote areas before they burn out of control. Now, here's how these systems work. This is sort of a generalized grab bag of all these different systems that are deployed in these multiple states, but these systems usually contain continuous scanning, high definition, 24/7 rotating cameras and satellite data. So a combination of these cameras, on location and satellite data, constantly monitor high risk, sparsely populated rural areas. And I would add forest as well. AI detection. Artificial intelligence algorithms analyze the live feeds to differentiate between smoke and non-threatening environmental elements such as dust, clouds, or fog. So the AI is trained to be able to determine or anticipate whether this is real fire smoke or is it just dust, clouds, or fog. That's pretty cool. And then they add the element of human verification. If the artificial intelligence detects potential smoke, it alerts human analysts. These analysts confirm whether it is an actual fire to keep false alarms to a minimum. So, Ben, here's a trend that I think is very hopeful. We're also afraid of AI replacing human beings. And of course, that's going to happen. But I think another really interesting trend is the teamwork, AI teaming up with humans. And this is a great example of that.
Yeah, just being able to, because humans are, fortunately and unfortunately, they get bored. You know, they want to do other things. You can't just, Ralph. You can't just, even if you are hired and you are paid $1,000 an hour to sit there and watch a bunch of lines on a board that just scroll, and you're like, if any of these lines peak, you have to alert them about a wildfire. You could put any person there for 8 hours a day for years on end, and they would mess up because you get bored. AI, though, AI can do things that humans just are not that good at doing. And this is a great augmentation, not just replacing, but augmentation as well.
Augmentation is a good way of putting it. And so now if the AI detects potential smoke, makes an alert, a human analyst gets involved, and this can result in rapid action. Once confirmed, local fire agencies and utilities are notified immediately so they can launch emergency personnel and aircraft while the fire is still small. Wow, key benefits. Well, beating 911 calls in remote areas where few humans are around to report emergencies, the AI technology notifies authorities about 45 minutes faster on average than the first 911 call. That's cool. Now, proven success. I love this little anecdote. The technology is already saving thousands of acres. For example, in Arizona, and the AI flagged early signs of what became the Diamond Fire. Get a load of this, Ben. Firefighters were able to respond immediately and stop the blaze before it grew past 7 acres. That's tiny. Wow.
Yeah, that's. I'm sure that thing just started as like a little, a little puff of smoke, and they were able to get it before it got too big. That's crazy.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Now, reality check, there are challenges to all of this. High cost. Deploying and maintaining these systems is expensive, costing tens of thousands of dollars per camera annually. Okay, but think about the cost of the devastation of these fires. The human factor. AI is only a tool for detection and providing real-time data. It cannot replace human decision-making when it comes to the critical tactical choices of fighting a fire or ordering community evacuations. That's the combination, this augmentation, this teamwork of AI plus humans.
That is where we are currently at, luckily still with AI, is that, not a lot of industries are at the point where we're letting AI make all the decisions, but they are definitely helping humans make more informed decisions.
And there you go.
That I feel is a great use of it.
Yeah, and the article talks about looking ahead. Experts note that artificial intelligence is no longer a speculative tool, but a practical necessity based on the success of these systems deployed in some of the Western states. And moving forward, AI is expected to become an industry standard everywhere, blurring the lines between AI wildfire detection and standard wildfire management. And beyond just spotting smoke, agencies plan to expand its use to map out real-time evacuations and identify optimal locations for thinning overgrown vegetation. Wow, great stuff.
Yeah, and honestly, as someone who, growing up in South Florida, the Everglades and the wetlands there, Ralph, like they do controlled burns all the time because you are supposed to have wildfires go through, and it's supposed to, kind of clear out vegetation. Wildfires are good in a lot of instances, but I think, reading the article a little bit, what they really want to stop is not, your random wildfires or your controlled burns or stuff like that. But Ralph, it's, the stray cigarette that someone may put out, the campfire that someone didn't put out well enough. It's the human-made horrible things that happen that are preventable, and that's what it could stop. And there's a lot of benefit to that. So very cool stuff.
Yes.
Good stuff. Wildlandfirefighter.com. What a niche topic, but
Yeah,
cool to
but
see.
very cool.
Yeah. So story number 2, story number 3, and let's go ahead and talk about some human waste. That's always a real attention getter. And Ralph, this is of course, just last week we talked a little bit about Neuralink and Elon Musk. Well, Elon Musk's other ventures are permanent human settlements. I think even the U.S. has said something like a permanent human settlement on the moon, for instance, in like 2050. I think that's like NASA's long-term goal, something like that. So yeah, Ralph, we're starting to think of Mars and the moon and these other places as somewhere that humans can be for an extended period of time. And well, you're going to need stories like story number 3 if you're going to make that happen. So let's talk about Earth.com.
Yeah. Again, the story comes from Earth.com, and here's the headline: Recycled human waste could turn the dust on Mars and the moon into fertile soil for crops. Okay. How can you go wrong with a story about poop?
Through Ralph, I have become very aware of the term regolith, which we're going to talk about. But I will just say that's just a term that Ralph has taught me. So there you go.
That's correct. So future long-term space missions to the moon and Mars will depend heavily on self-sustaining food systems, as transporting living soil from Earth is impossible. To address this challenge, researchers at Texas A&M University have found that treating recycled human wastewater could transform sterile, abrasive extraterrestrial moon and Mars dust, aka regolith, into fertile soil for future space farming. In laboratory experiments, scientists used an artificial sewage solution managed by NASA's Organic Processor Assembly. And inside bioreactor tanks, microbes digested solid waste and filtered it into a liquid solution rich in nutrients and salts. When researchers mixed this treated wastewater with simulated moon and Mars dust, or regolith, a crucial chemical reaction occurred. The treated liquid weathered the harsh mineral grains, dissolving the rock into unlock tapped essential plant nutrients, including sulfur, calcium, and magnesium. And under the microscope, this weathering process etched tiny pits into the lunar simulant and coated Martian grains with nanoparticles, successfully smoothing the sharp abrasive edges of the dust to make it safer for delicate plant roots. Okay.
I never considered the sharpness, the hardness of the soil in regards to, I guess, kind of Earth-based plants. Like, Ralph, trust me, I know 100 different reasons why plants don't grow on the moon, but the composition, the sharpness of the dust was not one of them that I was aware of. That's cool.
Yeah, that is interesting. And while the local dust naturally released some hidden fertilizer reserves, even when mixed with plain water, the treated wastewater drastically enhanced the enrichment. Some nutrients, particularly phosphorus, chemically bound to the dust surface, meaning the plant roots or future microbes will need to physically free them over time, while laboratory simulants differ slightly from actual extraterrestrial regolith. This closed-loop recycling approach offers a practical foundation for habitat designers to turn a disposable problem into a cornerstone of sustainable off-world agriculture. Okay, hooray for poop.
Yes, absolutely. It's really something that the space station deals with, Ralph, and like one of my favorite kind of tidbits of like the space station is that their whole water system is actually on, it almost acts like a skin or a bladder around the entire thing, because it actually stops the cosmic rays from penetrating. Like even just a very thin layer of water all the way around the space station prevents the cosmic rays from penetrating and damaging human cells and causing cancer and whatnot. Like, scientists and especially NASA are very good at figuring out how to take something that is just kind of there or is a waste or something like that and turning it into a crucial cornerstone of just living up there. And this seems like another one. It's Ralph, people much smarter than myself are figuring out how to make this happen, because
Yes.
it's not as easy as I would I would think. So, very cool story number 3. And again, a new publication, earth.com.
There you go.
I had not heard of that one. Of course,
That's
I've
a
heard
good
of
one.
Earth, but not .com. So there you go.
Really
Story number
good.
3. Story number 4. And let's talk about COVID. You know that one.
Oh, yeah.
That one had a little bit of splash on the human psyche, and being able to really sanitize, Ralph, like that's when we really came out with UV rays was, kind of the way to disinfect and sterilize hospitals and rooms. Like, Ralph, I would say even my wife and I got a new car like a year and a half ago. You know what it came with? There's a little compartment in front of the passenger. You press it. It's a UV little tray, and you can close the door, and it will turn on a UV light, so you can put your phone, your sunglasses,
Oh my gosh,
whatever,
that's cool.
and it will disinfect whatever you put in there with UV light.
Oh, wow.
It even made it into car design. Like, that's how important it is to disinfect things. Yeah, it's cool, but at the same time, my wife just uses it as a way to store, sunglasses, whatever. So, with that being said, finding out ways to keep things clean has never been more important. And I think story number 4 is going to get to even a new way to do that.
Yeah, this is remarkable. This comes from ScienceAlert.com. Headline: Scientists destroy COVID and flu viruses in the lab using sound waves. That's interesting, right? So let's get into this. A recent study published in Scientific Reports and featured by ScienceAlert highlights a breakthrough by researchers at the University of Sao Paulo in Brazil, who successfully inactivated SARS-CoV-2 and influenza A viruses using high-frequency ultrasound. The idea of using sound, this is so interesting. You're going to love how this works. This innovative approach utilizes a physical phenomenon called acoustic resonance to destroy the structural integrity of viral particles without harming human cells. What? And here's how it works. Again, the key is acoustic resonance. So unlike traditional ultrasound sterilization, which uses low frequency waves to create destructive gas bubbles, this method employs high frequencies between 3 and 20 megahertz. The sound waves are tuned to match the natural vibrational frequency of the virus's outer shell, known as the envelope. This causes the virus to vibrate violently until its membrane ruptures and explodes, much like a piece of popcorn.
I have 2 sound effects that could go with that. So it's either going to be a pop or an explosion. So
kind of a fusion of both. But how about that?
It's so violent.
These guys. Yeah. But check this out. Exploding the virus, but not harming other human cells.
That's crazy.
It is just, talk about figuring out the exact frequency needed to zap the virus and not hurt anything else. So key advantages of this, geometric targeting. Because this process is purely geometric, it targets the spherical shape of the virus. This means that even as viruses mutate, like the Omicron and Delta variants of COVID-19, the treatment remains effective because the physical shape of the virus typically stays the same. So they're able to do this by understanding the shape of the virus and then targeting it with this ultrasound. This blows my mind. Safety. The experiments showed that while the viral envelopes were destroyed, the surrounding host cells remained intact with no changes to local temperature or pH levels. This part I can't even imagine it. Versatility. Beyond COVID-19 and flu viruses, researchers believe this could work against other enveloped viruses, including Zika and dengue. Okay. And now to wrap this up, while the technology is currently limited to laboratory in vitro tests and is not yet ready for clinical use in humans, it represents a promising green alternative to complex chemical antivirals, offering a non-invasive way to combat pathogens that have no risk of promoting drug resistance. Man, I love it. And this great way to end the show and leave you on an upbeat note.
Absolutely. And I'm actually curious to 20 megahertz. I'm sorry, I'm Googling something right now. I'm wondering if humans, sure. No, AI, stop. I'm just trying to get a quick answer. Okay, so humans cannot hear the frequencies. So essentially you're just walking around, and actually 3 megahertz. So yeah, I guess humans hear in the kilohertz range. So the megahertz range is going to be way out of our hearing. So, okay. I'm just saying hospitals aren't just going to start sounding like a rock band, just running all these things everywhere. Very, very cool. So
yes,
there you go, Ralph. Amazing stories, really. Even every one of them brought something a little bit different to the table. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to find out more about these, because there's always more to learn about these stories. You can go on out to computeramerica.com and we'll have all the show notes listed right there, and you can go through and check them out. And if you are going through as we speak, you may notice there's a whole section called the honorable mentions, and the honorable mentions are stories that we just don't have time for. We try to keep the show closer to about half an hour. We do better on some days than others. But ladies and gentlemen, these stories are stories that you should definitely hear about as well. So Ralph's going to give you the headlines, and we will at least be able to provide those to you at the website. So Ralph, if you will, let's give them the headlines.
Yeah, the first of the 4 honorable mentions this week comes from Spelman College and CBS News in Atlanta, Georgia. And the headline here is Spelman students invent a way for plants to talk with PlantGPT. I gotta love it.
PlantGPT.
I just love this story. And the viral project redefines the future of gardening through AI and data. Charming, inspiring, wonderful story. Check it out. I just love that one. The next
vegetarians are in shambles. Yes.
The next one comes from the University of Connecticut Today, their website. And the headline is, a hemp-based plastic offers a greener alternative to plastic packaging. Boy, Ben, over the past number of years, you and I have seen so many promising, wonderful research, looking for ways to replace plastic with something organic that's not going to be detrimental, not cause microplastics in the ocean, all this good stuff. This is another example of that kind of research. Check it out from the University of Connecticut. Our next one is from techexplorer.com. This one's interesting. Sugarcane waste concrete cuts CO2 by up to 30% while boosting strength. Another trend, we have seen lots and lots of research on improving concrete, making concrete absorb CO2, making concrete do this, making concrete do that. This one's about using sugarcane waste to cut CO2 and increase boosting strength by 30% of concrete. Pretty cool story. Check that one out. Mm-hmm. And our last one is really fun. This is a hoot. This comes from newaatlas.com headline.
The picture of this is crazy.
I know. I love it. How a steam-powered motorcycle became the second fastest bike in the world. You've got to check this out. It's like, why? Well, because we can.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of people out there, when you think of steam powered, we really, kind of moved away from steam power a long time ago. But Ralph, they turned it into something that is just incredibly fast. And if you look at it, this guy looks like he is just strapped to a jet, to a jet plane engine.
Yes,
it is insane. So those stories, and of course, past shows, future shows, everything you need to know. ComputerAmerica.com. Ralph, I want to thank you so much for joining us and sharing these stories with us. Everyone out there, thank you for tuning in and sharing your time with us. And until next time Ralph is on, he joins us every Friday. Everyone, have a great time. We'll catch you next time. Until then, have fun. Bye, everyone.